you see all the photographers are standing over there, you go somewhere different because now you have a one-of-a-kind, new, different perspective that doesn't exist in the world except for yours because no one was there but you. Pick somewhere new, go somewhere new, go somewhere different.
Hey, welcome to the Beginner Photography Podcast. I'm your host, Raymond Hadfield, and each week I interview one of the world's most interesting photographers to learn what it really takes to capture beautiful images so that you can start to do the same. In today's Rewind episode, we are chatting with the Director of Photo Operations for IndyCar. Yeah, Chris Owens, about what it takes to shoot the Indy 500. But first, the Beginner Photography Podcast is brought to you by CloudSpot. CloudSpot has everything you need to build a thriving photography business. Impress your clients, deliver a professional experience, and streamline your workflow all in one platform. Grab your free forever account today over at deliverphotos.com and only upgrade when you and your business are ready. Now, I know that the Indy 500 is a big deal all around the world, but it's especially so here in Indy during the month of May. The Indy 500 is the biggest single-day sporting event in the world. So today I chat with Chris Owens about what it takes to photograph an event of this size and this caliber and speed with cars whizzing by you at 230 miles an hour, where you don't have time to figure it out on the fly. It's a fun conversation. And side note, since this original conversation, I've had the chance to meet Chris in person on a few occasions, and he's one of the nicest dudes you could ever meet who genuinely wants to share his knowledge with those who share his passion, being photography. Great dude. So with that, let's go ahead and get on into today's interview with Chris Owens. Chris, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Hey, Raymond, thanks for having me.
I am really excited to get into this episode. Obviously, living here in Indianapolis. I'm actually kind of a transplant to Indy, but growing up, my family's been into racing, so I've always known of the Indy 500. So moving out here was really exciting. And this year, actually, after having been here for 7 years, was my first time going to the 500. And it was...
Man, it was that long?
It did. But it was an amazing spectacle to actually see in person and then to find out that you, who I've been following on Instagram for a long time for that reason, to actually see you working was a really cool thing. But before we get into, like I said, the logistics of shooting an event like the 500, can you share with the listeners how you first got your start in photography?
That's there's really a few ways. It's kind of interesting. I more sometimes say that photography kind of found me. Growing up as a kid, went to a lot of events and, of course, car races, which kind of explains where I am today. But I was always gifted a disposable 35 millimeter camera when we go to those events. And I was so passionate and so interested in like the Indiana Pacers and NBA basketball and car racing and all that growing up. It was really important to me to capture these events on this camera. And the camera wasn't something I was asked for. It was just given to me. So that was really great to be able to not forget, which is a lot of my relationship with photography. I think what also interested it in me growing up was just I didn't want to forget some of these special moments. So, between that and then actually early childhood, the strangest thing, I was actually gifted as well as like a toy. I'm talking like 4 or 5 years old, this old like German camera my grandfather brought back. I guess like my parents didn't want to mess with it or it wasn't important to them or whatever, but this was literally in my toy box. So I can remember like walking around and like marking things up with this camera and literally saying the words, make it work, make it work. I knew it did something. I knew it wasn't just you walk around with this. So I think that like that was really embedded with me at a young age. And then actually as a junior in high school, they offered a photography class at school. And I instantly knew whenever I heard and, saw that was on the list, I was like, yes, I will be very interested in this. Because I had already, been shooting all these things with my disposable 35 millimeter and also even like buying them with allowance, which is kind of weird for a kid to do. There's all this stuff, but
I did the same thing, man. I'm right there with you.
Yeah. And I remember I actually have even these 35 millimeter negs where I'd set toys up in the yard and moved them and shoot, like tried to make a flip book. Of course I had like no tripod and they're out of focus and everything. So it looked horrible. But, that photography class, I'd always been, being so young, I wouldn't say a photographer, but I had an interest and knew of photography. So once I got going in that, things just really took off. I had a great photography teacher, Lenny Byerwalter, in high school, and he was just super supportive of just me being overzealous for photography. which, and it gets quite a bit stranger from there. So after taking that class and, being a senior in high school and making these like life decisions of like, what am I going to go to school for? What am I going to do? Well, as I'm kind of going through those moments in life, I kind of started to venture towards media, which is kind of obviously in the same realm, but radio. And then the day you graduate from my high school, they give you a letter, okay, that you don't remember because you write it to yourself when you're in fourth grade. All right. So I open this letter and I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. What is fourth grade me going to have to talk about?
And you
Well,
don't
there's
remember this
questions.
at all?
What's that?
You don't remember writing this letter at
I
all?
mean, now I do. I do now, but when you're a senior in high school, you don't remember. You didn't remember that was waiting on you. Does that make sense?
Of course.
Until
Yeah.
you get it and you go, oh, yeah, we did this years ago. So, there's some pre-drafted questions that teachers make up for you and to have you answer. Well, mine was, what do you want to be when you grow up? Don't ask me why. Some reason on this day, I write a ESPN or Sports Illustrated photographer.
No way.
It gave me chills. It shook me. I was like, this is weird because I'm really right in my life. I'm really interested in the photography. And then that's when I think I even realized then at that age of 18, like, this is something that's kind of been with me for a while. From there, I got to school and started doing the radio and the media thing. And I was like, no, I'm a photographer, because all I was doing in my free time was running around taking pictures. So from there, I just kind of started to pursue my passion for photography. I've always photographed my friends, and just snapshots are my favorite. I know it sounds awful because everybody's trying to be an artist and they're trying to get all these creative images, and I am too, but I find that I get a lot of those by just messing around taking snapshots.
Yeah. I get that. That's an incredible story. So before we actually get into how you started working at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, can you tell me first what your job title entails?
At the Speedway?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So I'm the manager of photography for the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and IndyCar series. And that has a lot of responsibilities, and a lot more responsibilities than the fun part, which is shooting. There's some days I feel like I'm lucky to get out there and shoot, but I have an incredible staff that helps with that. So I guess, sorry to back up, to answer your question, just to say a little bit about what I do there, I guess, as the manager of photography. That would involve selecting all photographers who, for my staff, for the IndyCar and IMS staff, that go to all IndyCar races.
Mm-hmm.
Picking their travel dates, making sure they get hotels, all that kind of stuff. Coordinating shoots, booking shoots for our studio days where we do our like white backdrop media portraits. I shoot day to day, whatever pops up. And most of what my job is pop-ups. So that will be like, so-and-so from the Indiana Pacers is dropping by, and they are going to take a tour of the museum and go for a pace car ride and all that. I'm your guy. I'm there. So when you see the picture on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or the still at the beginning of the YouTube video, that's something that me or my staff shot. Yeah. From there, it just, yeah.
I think that sounds like a dream job for a lot of people. A lot of people love the creativity of photography, but maybe they don't want to venture into the business side of things. And I think the idea of working under a company or something to still be able to create what it is that they want to just sounds amazing. And myself included, I think this sounds very cool. So
yeah, and it is. But I will say, as a photographer, it's huge adjustment for me to go from being a staff photographer and having people being a shooter. That's a lot different. I could handle that, and I did handle that, and I love that. And I love being obviously in a manager role too. It just means a lot more emails and a lot more meetings and planning. And really, when it's event time, every time that you're out shooting, doing what you love, that's actually a moment you are getting behind on planning tomorrow's front row photo shoot. And it comes down to little things like making sure there's chairs there, making sure there's a flag of the nationality of the pole sitter. I was running around the offices at Indianapolis Motor Speedway at 5 a.m., frantic, the day of the front row shoot, looking for Simon Pagenaud's French flag. There's a lot of things people don't understand, about that. And if you want a role like this, obviously starting as a beginner in photography, but if you want to grow into a role, something like this, they do exist. I'm proof of it, but you just have to know that shooting becomes the last thing. Sometimes you're far too busy taking pictures to even go take pictures, if that makes any sense at all.
No, it
Taking
does.
pictures that are required parts of the job.
Yeah, yeah. So thank you for sharing that. That's a great insight into your position. Can you tell me now how this job became available for you, how you found out about it, and how you pursued it?
Well, my first introduction to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway was like 2004. I think I was 14 or 15, a youth group at school, which, I wasn't a part of, but I was really into car racing and drag racing and all that as a kid. So living in Indiana, of this Indy 500 thing, right? Like you were talking about earlier. I'm just like, you know what? I need to check mark off my motorsports adventure list. I want to go with these people. So I'm like, yeah, I'll go. We went. They sent us there. We were supposed to flip burgers, like in one of the concession stands for the youth group or whatever.
I see.
They said somebody needs to take a break first. I was so jacked up about the place. I said, I'll take a break first. You guys work. I'll come and shift. I left with a few friends. We never came back the whole day. They were pissed. The bus was waiting on us. Like it was full. All the kids were mad. We left like an hour late because we were over like trying to peak Victory Circle. So, that really, watching those cars, anybody who has been to a professional car race or especially the Indy 500, seeing those cars come past you for the first time, you'll never forget. It's incredible. And at the same time, I have pictures from that day because I had my disposable,
Yeah.
So these wheels were turning far before I knew. From there, kept going to the race. And as a senior in high school, like we were talking about, May's when you graduate, May's during the 500, I'm thinking about it. I remember sitting and turning through with my camera and going, there is a person who works here. This is their job to take these photos. I could never have this job because someone has it, but I could have a job like this one day. I remember telling myself that on the inside of turn 3. And from there, ended up transferring really to be closer to Indianapolis, the city, and the track. I've always loved the track. Transferred to Indianapolis to go to art school here and just started knocking on the door out there at the track.
Really? Like physically? Like you showed up?
Yes. Like showing up. I showed up twice there, and the manager of photography that time, director of photography, he wasn't there. But I was given a phone number and an email address, started sending to that, wasn't hearing anything back. And really all I wanted to do was try to build a portfolio and be a fanboy at the same time. Get pictures of my favorite race cars and race car drivers. And after doing that long enough and sending those emails, just being persistent, just keep going. Like monthly, sending an email, hey, just because I knew I only had one shot. Mm-hmm. So if they don't respond, you keep going. And I would tell that to any photographer that wants a position. Sometimes people, they're not ignoring you, or it's not that they don't like you, they're just busy. And I feel horrible because it happens to me. Sometimes people are like, I sent you an email on May, whatever, or a random April weekend when I'm in Long Beach shooting the Long Beach Grand Prix. And I'm like, I got 40 emails that day and I was doing another shooting as well, To finish up on that though, how I got it there, eventually I was working selling cameras and I always kept at a retail store and I always kept a portfolio book on the table, right? Because as a photographer, you should always be promoting yourself and showing your best work. And I always wanted to keep that there, hoping maybe I could land a job from that in photography one day. Right person saw it and said, these are great race car pictures. I should show these with my friend who is the director of photography.
No way.
At the Speedway. And I was like, yes, you should, because I've been trying to do that for a year. And so, she did. I was lucky enough that person came into my life that day and did that and sent that email. I don't know if he owed her a favor or what, but he responded that day, said, I look at your pictures on your Flickr. I love them. They're the kind of thing we're looking for. Because at this time, photography, and especially photography, is kind of transferring out film to digital. There's still some guys they weren't shooting film, but they were fresh to digital cameras in this, in 2007. They've been under 10 years shooting digital. So from there, I got in just as a volunteer. I would take time off work, unpaid, just to go out there and try to shoot every day.
Okay, actually, I got 2 follow-up questions for you. One of them, you talked about being persistent and following up and keep sending these emails. As somebody now who's in that position who is continually getting emails. Is there a fine line between being persistent and being pushy, trying to follow up? I know that's something that a lot of
Well,
people...
I'm not sure, and I'll tell you why. For me, I like to be, if someone is trying to offer me something that maybe sounds great and is great, but at that point in time, I can't use, or maybe my credential allotment is up, I'm not
Yeah.
allowed to add more people or things like that, or I can't shoot something for them that they need shot. For me, it's just important to tell them quickly and be fair and be transparent and clear and say, hey, look, thanks for reaching out. I can't do that for you right now. So I think that's also up to whoever you are trying to be persistent towards. If
Yeah.
they aren't answering you or they're not giving you clear answers, me personally, that's my personality. I would say hit them up, keep returning on your thoughts until they tell you, until they are weak and give and say yes, or they decide they do need what you have to offer, or they just say, hey, look, I'm sorry, we can't do that right now. I've had people do that to me. And I think that I would say, yeah, I don't know that you want to send somebody an email every day
Sure.
saying, hey, I'd love to shoot for your product, or hey, I would love to be on shoot for your team, company, brand. But yeah, I would say do it until you get a yes or no, right?
Right. Okay, I gotcha. That's a great answer. So this is what you did. You finally got the opportunity to show up and volunteer your time. Were you following somebody, or was it, hey, here's your credentials, you can just walk around and shoot whatever you want?
I got to be honest with you. I had no idea what I was doing at first. I couldn't believe they brought me on. I've looked back at some of the pictures I sent as portfolio. They were like, a lot of them were like out of focus. I think that they acknowledged that they needed new blood. They needed to keep rotating and getting new photographers, new styles. But at first, I really didn't get a lot of attention paid to me. And I contribute that. I actually think that that really helped because it was literally like, I was 19 years old. They were like, yeah, man, here's your credential. Don't go over the pit wall. Don't get hit by a car, things like that, which is easy to do. It's easy to stay out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
But it was kind of those things. So stay out of the way and come back with some neat pictures. I did it. I was hardly coming in and sitting down. I was just out shooting all day, popping whatever I thought looked neat, trying to get a unique perspective, really without even knowing I was, because they had all been doing it so long. A lot of them were doing it the same way. Yeah, I really contribute not having assignments at first, my first year or two, not having assignments, not having anything I was responsible for allowed me to go out and kind of make great pictures.
So
I hope that answered your question. I already forgot what your question was.
it was when you first started. Did you have assignments, or were you kind of off given free reign? And you did answer that. So
Yeah.
let's transition a little bit, because now you're in this position. So let's talk about the 500. The 500, Indianapolis 500, is arguably probably the most high profile event that you guys shoot at the Speedway. Is that about right?
Without a doubt. It's
Yeah.
one of your larger single-day sporting events, or claimed to be the largest single-day sporting event in the world.
I did not know that. That's interesting.
Yeah. There's events that bring in more people and festivals and things like that, but it might be over a weekend or a week, or like the Olympics, more people that's coming going. But for like an 8-hour day, it's the time.
Yeah.
It's the most people. It's the biggest largest single-day sporting event in the world. It's right here in Indiana, right here in Speedway, where I live.
Every single year. So
yep.
For an event like that, how far out does preparation start for the 500 for you?
That is also interesting, because for us, it can be almost a full year effort. And why that is because when you think about what would make sense is, a few months before, we should really start ramping up and transferring our lenses and our computers and loading in and all this stuff, and starting to think about shots from our creative standpoint and marketing, which they do earlier in the year, but us sitting down as a team and starting to talk about it. You'd think about us doing that a few months before, but the reality is a few months before, we're already working a car race in St. Petersburg, Florida, the street race, the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, or the Long Beach Grand Prix. We're in Birmingham, Alabama. We have a schedule, the list goes on. So if working on the IndyCar side, that is, the IndyCar series is a championship, just like any other sport, but they travel from event to event. Instead of playing team to team, it's event to event trying to win. So a few weeks before the 500, I'm in another city shooting a car race. So that makes it very difficult. You're doing a lot of your planning on Wednesday, Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you're off in another city. You have to make quick decisions, and you have a lot of long hours, and that's something you'd have to be committed to have a job in photography.
Of course. And I think if it's something that you like tried to pursue, that makes it probably a little bit easier to do those long days rather than just kind of taking a job because it was the only thing available.
100%. I truthfully am lucky enough to say I worked very hard. We've all had jobs, and we all have jobs, and we work. I haven't really worked in a long time. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
Because of what you just said. When you do what you love, it doesn't feel, you said it yourself best, it doesn't feel as much like work. And it's fun for me all the time when I'm at a party or with friends or meeting new people, I have a lot of pride in getting to say what I do when they say, well, what do you, and it's a great feeling in life to be able to do that. But to somebody say, well, what do you do? And just to go, I'm a race car photographer, and just watch them just be like, what? This person is an accountant, and there's nothing wrong with that. Or this person does heating and cooling. What do you do? I take race car photos. Well, what do you do? Like, that's it. That's how I get the paycheck from that. It's incredible. It's incredible.
Right.
Isn't it incredible?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I had the fortune of, I believe it was 2 years ago now, photographing when Red Bull came to where was it? Just, I guess what's the other
air race or the motorcycles?
No. It was their like World Rallycross that they were doing. They had like a Rallycross series, and I had the fortune to be able to go and like shoot that. And it was an incredibly taxing day. Like you said, you're on your feet all day. The race isn't very that long. It's a bunch of different legs. So you got to really be prepared, and preparation was a huge thing that I had to learn to expect, right? To look forward to there. But at the end of the day, my feet were sore. I was sweaty because it was like 200 degrees that day. And I didn't even do anything with the photos because it was just so like enjoyable for me that at the end of the day, I felt fulfilled. So you're absolutely right. Absolutely right.
That's where a lot of my work starts, is whenever you're done, I then am like, you have to sit down and crank out because you're working for the media as well.
Yeah. No, I definitely want to get into what happens after we photograph the images. But real quick, I want to go back again to kind of the prep side of the Indy 500. So how many photographers are under you?
Currently, I have somewhere between 15 and 20 photographers, and that kind of can adjust. Yeah, well.
Those are like staff photographers?
They are staff photographers. And you might ask, why would it take that many?
That was my next question.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people think that what I'm doing. So how about this? Going out and taking the pictures of the race cars, that's the easiest part. That's what everybody wants to do. That is like this much of what is needed for my job. Because, whenever you're shooting for a company, and this might be interesting to anyone who's interested in any kind of event photography or shooting something they're passionate about. What I'm doing is sometimes what I'm responsible for may be like, hey, we need pictures of a beer sponsor is having a party in a pavilion tent during qualifying. I need someone to go over there and take a picture of their event or what's going on while qualifying check presentation type thing is going on. You know what I mean? So obviously someone has to cover that because it's the racing. That's why we have jobs and we're there. But at the same time, there's something else going on. And then while that's going on, there may also, who knows, be something that's important to the marketing department, some autographed poster giveaway that's going on at the same time, because at these events, there's things going on for different demographics of people at different times.
Sure.
And we have requests throughout the whole company. Someone from facilities may say to me, hey, we need a picture of every branded garbage can because that brand paid a lot of money to have their names stapled on every garbage can. Wow. You didn't think about stuff like that. You know what I mean?
I did not.
All this is going on a Friday practice session while, there's a lot going on. It takes a lot of people. And like at this point, I love race car photography. I have so many photographers on my staff who are so talented at race car photography. What's really important to us is our staff. The most valuable right now are the staff that can go out and take a picture of a hospitality event after hours, guests doing track laps, things like that. Those are the kind of things that are less glorious about the job. People here sometimes are like, oh yeah, well I'm up at, or you're out shooting race cars and having a good time and doing all this stuff. It's like, I'm also there at 7 a.m. with guests of a sponsor while they take a two-seater ride-along pace car laps. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's not as cool as being in victory circle for the Indy 500, but it's part of the job. And I got where I am by paying my dues, volunteering, and doing those things. And that's how I'd say part of how I got the call for the job was because there was a time where I left Indianapolis. I moved to Fort Wayne to be home for about 6 months. The Speedway would still call me. They thought I lived in Indianapolis.
Oh,
They'd
no.
say, hey, on a Wednesday, they'd be like, hey, can you come take pictures of these people doing pace lap rides on a Wednesday in October tomorrow? I'd be like, yeah. I'd drive 2 hours just to go down, just to stay in good graces and to show them that I was committed to them. And that's the kind of dedication you have to get those kind of jobs.
And you said how many years it took you to do that, to kind of get the attention?
Yeah, let's see. It's been about 3 years of doing that until, they got to the point where the director of photography had retired, and they kind of started looking around for I guess, lack of a better term, a new and young perspective. And they called and asked me if I'd come in and talk about it. And I lost my mind. That was just the coolest day of my life. At that point, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. That is an awesome story. For those who have never been, who have never had the ability to go to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, it's huge. So I did a little research. And within the walls of the IMS, you could fit, it's like the Roman Coliseum, all of Churchill Downs, where they have the Kentucky Derby, all of Liberty Island, where the Statue of Liberty is, the Rose Bowl Stadium, which is the second largest college football stadium, the Taj Mahal, the White House, and the entire Vatican City, and Dodger Stadium. All of this can fit within the walls of the IMS. It is massive. So on race day, for the 500, there's no way that you could possibly shoot everything. How do you decide what gets covered and what doesn't?
Yes. Also, to follow up when you're saying how big it is, sometimes it will be pouring rain in turn 3. And we will be on the front stretch, and they'll call a yellow flag for safety. And we're like, what's wrong? It's a sunny day over here. It's that big. I'm not kidding. That's not a joke.
That's incredible.
It's rain in 3, and then you look, and there's like a cloud over there. But your question is, how do you choose what to do? How do you get it all? How can you attempt to get it all? You can't. It's too big. Too big of an event and too many things going on. First off, that's why obviously we work on a staff. But like you said, it's about preparation. There's not a whole lot of time to prepare during an event like this because I'll be shooting the day before, a couple days before the 500, or even the day before the 500. I have events to shoot. And sometimes you're not leaving there until 9 or 10 at night, done with your product, with your photos, editing and all that. So, you're not going to stay there longer. You can, I have, but to plan things, you've got to do a lot of this earlier in the month. And a lot of what it comes down to is seeing what other photographers have done, saying, ooh, this is great, but that's a nice photo that somebody took at the 500. They kind of missed this. I would have done it this way to put this in. So basically, lack of a better term, I don't want to say stealing other people's images, but all creative thoughts and images, they've all already been made. Mm-hmm. The only thing you can do is elaborate and make yours and make a different way what kind of others have done. And sometimes in the process, you make something that you've never seen, and that is new and fresh. And to me, that's the best advice on being creative and doing something new. But for me, really doing that image investigation from what I've shot, from what others have shot in years past. How do we make it better? Cold day in the winter when there's not as much going on, going somewhere in their facility that you have an idea for of where a car would look on track or where the fans are going to be. I've done that a dozen times where I'm up in the stands with a camera in February, and
Very
I'm like,
cold, snowy.
That might work. I have to wait till people get here. I have to wait till there's cars on track. But preparation, just being prepared, thinking ahead throughout the year, keeping notes. I like to kind of keep a next year's 500 note on my computer. I recommend anybody who shoots an event or shoots a regular reoccurring event does that. Do it when it's fresh. You kind of jot down. And then by the time you get ready to investigate it, if you can remember what your notes mean, you can, you might be able to make something neat from it. Also, my rule of thumb is to start really, this might sound silly too, but kind of planning equipment even the day before. I know it's a stretch, But even like, before I go out and do something, I used to have an issue a lot where I'd get out to a point like, oh, I forgot the polarizer, I forgot this, I forgot that. You really have to almost make yourself a shot list, which is, a personal shot list. Obviously, we have one for all our photographers, but one for you. What do you want to achieve, and what equipment are you going to have to take with you? I've been known to make a small, on my phone, I'll make basically a small list of, I need this equipment for the day, and that's how you don't forget it, because it's crazy running in and out the door, shooting an assignment, it needs to be uploaded quick, you walk back out the door and you go, I forgot what I was going to bring with me. Yeah, hopefully that's some good advice on preparation, but it's,
For sure.
It's very high paced doing the racing. It's crazy because there's so many items on a daily shot list. And
yeah. So there you go. You mentioned the shot list. I kind of want to know a little bit more about this. Does each photographer have their own like region of the speedway that they have to cover and then things within that, or is it all free reign?
No, it's not free reign, and it's kind of all over the place. And back to when you first asked me some of the responsibilities of my job, this is one of the hardest days of the year. The day before the 500, I have a handful of things I shoot in the morning, and then from there, I kind of shut off because I have to make, I don't even know how many items. It's well over 100 item shot list, okay? And that is things from Credentials has assignments that they for me. They want things shot for their next year's ticket, something specific, or their ticket or their lanyard. Every facility, like back to facilities, like I was talking about the garbage cans and all that stuff I was talking about. That is all on this race day shot list.
Oh my goodness!
So it's like making a puzzle that nothing fits, but you have a knife, so you're able to like kind of bend all the pieces and make it flat. That's kind of like what making the Indy 500 race day shot list is. And I mean, there's everything on this, from who's responsible for shooting the dead center car coming in at Victory Circle, and who's going to get these milk shots, all the way down to, who's going to take the trash can photos.
Yeah.
So
it was you
that literally takes me an 8-hour day. That takes me a full day to put everything that everyone that works in our company that has an image request that they need onto one document piece of paper. It's like triple padlocked in a briefcase so I don't lose it. It's very it's
obviously important, right, to the speedway.
And a lot of people are just going out and taking pictures, man, and this is kind of where people who do want to start something in photography have to decide, is that your kind of workflow? Do you want to work like that,
Yeah, of course. And it was you who, do you plan yourself in the great shots? Because if I remember right, from a post that you put on Instagram, you were the one who photographed Willpower last year, drinking the milk that eventually went on the everybody's tickets. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the perk, right? I've got a couple things that I kind of planned myself.
I mean, that would be framed in my house. I would keep
It's
100.
only right if I have to do all the work.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I normally take, obviously being the track photographer, the series photographer, IndyCar, I normally do the dead center, low, car coming in, the celebration of the winner. And what's really, though, is great is I have our staff photographers peppered all throughout that grandstand to get the winner, and they get better stuff than I do. They get great shots. They get incredible stuff. Yeah, I mean, really just having an amazing staff of guys that's what makes me look good. Those guys are awesome. And I get to do the things that I want to do as well because of them, and wouldn't be able to do it without them. And they've grown so much. We're getting really good, man.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. I mean, every photo that I see comes out is just like, it's not the old NASCAR photos that I saw growing up in my uncle's garage. Like, this is new
it's art,
photography.
Man.
It's fun stuff. And that kind of brings me into my next question, which is, obviously when you're shooting film, it costs a lot of money, or at least it costs money. When you take a lot of photos, it costs a lot of money. So having the ability to shoot digital, you kind of have this freedom to be able to play around, to add more context to your photos. And ultimately, what we're trying to do with the photos, simply just tell a story within a single frame. So I would imagine that a photo of a car going 230 miles an hour around the track can only tell so much. How do you incorporate more story into your images?
That is interesting, and it's kind of evolved for me over time. There was a point in time where, for me, just getting the image, the car in the frame, and getting it sharp, I was like, hell yeah, turn that in. You know what I mean?
Of course.
But as time goes on, I've kind of explored myself with different techniques of doing that. What I like to do in the last few years ago, what was really big to me was I wanted to start showing more of the racetracks. So where a lot of people are doing what I said, they're just zooming in with a zoom lens, they're getting a shot of the car still. To tell its story, I was kind of trying to do more of these big sky shots. Mm-hmm. Car small at the bottom, big sky, and incorporate some motion, slow shutter speed photography, which is another thing obviously to look into. But, showing motion in the images any way you can, showing a little more of the venue. That's kind of what's important anymore to me. And then from there, just you don't always have to shoot the car from the back or from the front. Sometimes you can shoot the car from the back. You know what I mean? Any angle, any photographer, any race car photographer who's truly invested, these guys, they're like cockroaches. These guys are crawling all over everything. They're up in the street courses. We're up in the buildings, looking down where you're laying on the ground and shooting through a crack, through a separation in the wall. And that's an important thing to tell beginning photographers is that's what makes a good photographer. A lot of photographers are going to these pre-designated photo holes that are a safe bet. You're going to get a photo from it for credentialed photographers. But some of your best images are from somewhere different. Because think about it, everybody's going to that same hole. So if you're doing something someone else isn't, whether your image is good or not, there's no comparison. Another one doesn't exist. Yours is the best because it's the only one that exists. Now, if you and I both shoot out of the photo hole, you might beat me, right? You might get a better shot because we shot the same picture. Am I making any sense here?
Oh, 1,000%.
So I would tell photographers the best way I can find to make myself useful, and I've always thought this, and I still try to stick with this, is how many photographers can I turn myself into in a shoot? So I want to be the guy standing here getting the main shot, right? Because that's the shot and that's the safety net and that's what we need. That's what we're all here for. All right, I'm shooting. I got it. I'm done. Let them stay there and you go around. Now you go, as long as you're not in their shot, move around and get something different, Mm-hmm. Or if it's something that's not overly important to you or you're not overly invested in, but you want a nice photo of, if you see all the photographers that are standing over there, you go somewhere different because now you have a one-of-a-kind, new, different perspective that doesn't exist in the world except for yours because no one was there but you. Pick somewhere new, go somewhere different.
That's a great tip. I think just kind of in life, if you just replace the word shot with decision, that's like solid life advice right there. You should put that on a t-shirt.
Maybe I ought to have a job doing this. I'm kidding.
Thank you for sharing that. I think a lot of people are going to get a lot of value out of that statement right there. It is something that I don't think is taught as practical as that, as clear as that. We're told to get different shots, but there were some real concrete examples there, including laying on the concrete. So yeah, again, thank you.
Yeah.
So how does camera gear work in a position like this? Is this a job where you bring your own camera gear or is gear provided?
Well, it's kind of a mix of things. So obviously for my staff, we have a great partnership with Canon cameras where they let us try out and loan us equipment to try out. We own our own equipment for the company and the staff, and our photographers have their own equipment. But with the backing of Canon Professional Services, which travels to a lot of sporting events and events in general and car races, those guys are awesome. They provide a lot of unique equipment for us to try. And then if we like that, that's something obviously to purchase down the road. So Canon is pretty awesome stuff. It's great equipment for action in sports. It's always been known for that. Myself, I've shot Nikon in the past, and that stuff was great, but you really can't beat the Canon Professional Services as a professional photographer and their equipment and their people. So
I'm going to kind of branch off here. Let's say that you have an idea for an image in your head, and it's going to require something super specialized, either tilt shift or like a 800 mil lens.
Yep.
And you don't have it. Is that something that you would reach out to Canon and say, hey, we want to try this shot. Can you ship something out?
That is. I'm not sure how that relationship works for all photographers. I know on site at a lot of events, that's an option. Mm-hmm. But yeah, for my staff, if that's something Canon has available,
I see.
That's something that they could help out with.
Very cool. Very cool.
And they do that like if you're let's say you were shooting, I don't know, some kind of sporting event and Canon Professional Services there and you're a credentialed photographer, you can go to their booth and talk to them. They'll clean your lenses. They'll clean your camera bodies. They'll let you borrow a lens for the day if you want to try something new. So for photographers who are credentialed at events, that CPS, Canon Professional Services, is that, yeah, they'll hook you up, and they'll do it with a smile. They'll clean your camera. Hell of a deal.
Yeah. So for an event like the 500, which is really a once a year event, for your staff photographers, how much do you stress getting the safe shot versus getting that crazy equipment and doing something that's never seen before?
Oh man, we need it all. We need it
Right.
all. I think most photographers in what I do and in event photography in general, I would imagine this is most photographers. That's the first thing you do. You get your safe shot. You get your sharp, still, well exposed. You get those out of the way, and then you play.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to do that with everything I go do. So if I need to document the way the crowd looked from the stage, I want a picture of a crowd, I just go wide, pop it, and I normally carry 2 cameras. So I'll go wide, high shutter, so it's nice and still and sharp, pop it. Then if I want to do something, if I have another creative lens with me, or I want to do a zoom, in or show some depth, then I play from there. But I think that's probably, I do that with, on the side, I do concert photography, and I do that with that too. I think that's safe. You really, as a photographer, everybody wants the flashy, the banger shot, the amazing picture. You really got to cover your bases first, because that's how you have clients. That's how you keep clients. So get your staple, get your stuff out of the way that is required, and then play. Because at the end of the day, the stuff they're probably going to use is going to be all your creative stuff anyway. But if you don't get the still sharp documentation shot, then what'd they hire you for?
Yeah.
It's a tortured game, this whole photography thing. It's a lot of fun, but you're constantly in your head bouncing back to not wanting to do what you're doing and wanting to do it a different way. You're just being torn.
I hadn't thought about it like that. That's very true, though. That's very true. Yeah. They'll always be mad if you don't get the safe shot.
Yeah. But
they'll never be mad if you get a more creative shot.
Right.
That's smart. Okay. So we know what needs to be covered the day of the 500. We know who's going where, what shots they need to get, the equipment that they need to use as well. The winner wins. You go, you photograph the milk, you photograph the kiss of the bricks, you come back. And how many photos would you say that you have at the end of the day of the 500? Do you happen to know from this year's numbers? Is it thousands?
Yes. I would guess that it's in the years past. I would say probably, for some reason, the number like 4,000 or 5,000 sticks out to me. That might be crazy.
Just from you on a staff of 25 photographers.
Yes, just from me. But at the same time, I have learned, and having more responsibilities and more assignments, and understanding what will and won't work in photography and at the track, that number for me has gone down a little. I recommend for anybody who's a new shooter, shoot a ton, because you have more things to choose from. And especially if you have time and not another job following up. Me, after shooting the 500 on Sunday, I then have an assignment the next morning at like 8 a.m. with the winner. So I've learned over the years, if I take 5,100 photos, that is 5,000 pictures I have to look at. And I have to spend 5 seconds with making a decision whether I'm going to use it, whether I'm going to scrap it. So think about that too,
Of course.
I want to say like this year was probably quite a bit less, probably half of that. Probably took a couple thousand photos on race day. Tons of them are from Victory Circle. Whenever, when the winner gets out of the car. From there, I'm not going to lie to you. It's, the still that you see, that's the one, it's not some creative genius. It is a one picked out of 300 from a,
Yeah. Again, you got to get that safe shot. I get it.
Yeah, you got it. I could wait for the 1 second for the decisive moment, but no. No.
You still have a job to do, and there's a lot on the line. So I get it. So you mentioned earlier that your job kind of starts at the end of the race, right? Because now you have all these photos. So what happens to the images after race day?
The last couple of years, the way we've done it is I'll kind of stand there, I'll wait, I'll get that reaction shot from the winner. And then once those shots are done, the winner goes out to the yard of bricks and does their kissing of the bricks and some other traditional shots at the speedway. At that point, I then literally sprint, like I run into the media center, throw the card in, because at that point, that moment's already 5 minutes ago, and that's what the racing world and sports world is waiting for. So I had then someone fill in for me and do some of the other sponsor commitment photos with the winner. And then from there, you're there all night. I'm there until if the race gets over, and I don't even know because I never have time to look at the clock. 3, 4, whatever it is, I'll be there till 9:30 or 10, and then eventually you call it quits. You get tired, and you go, this is what I'm going to have. These are the images I'm going to have from this event. Bundle them up, ready to turn them into our internal archive, and I put them on our media page where media goes to get images after our events. And of course, some of them are more important than others. So I'm throwing some of those up while I'm trying to finish the rest. I mean, it's a juggle, and it's a constant brain assessment of what's the use of this image? How important is it? Who needs it? Can they wait a day? Does it need to be shown to the world now? You're just firing on all cylinders mentally and physically for an entire day of the Indy 500. And, when you're out shooting, sometimes you're waiting on a shot. You see this awesome shot, the one you want the shot, and you go, I can wait here 2 more minutes for this because there's so many other things going on. So for me, it's just an entire day of celebrating your victories and not walking away from your losses, and then having a plan before the day starts, before the month starts of on race day, I want to go to this spot and get this shot. I want to do this shot this way. I want to do this shot this way, and having them in mind and not spending too much time anywhere, just bouncing around.
Yeah, I would imagine that for every shot that you do get, there's got to be at least 1 or 10 more shots that you don't get that you
every year.
Yeah.
That I was a part of, I was there for. I'm just like, oh, it's okay, but it's not that cool.
Right. Okay, so just to clarify, when you run back to the media center and then you said that you're there all night, you're going through those photos, you're selecting the images that are going to go out, right?
Yep, correct.
Okay. When you're doing that, about how many images would you say go into I believe you said the archive of the race?
For the day, I probably contribute, I would say around maybe 400, 300.
And that's between all the photographers?
No, that's myself for the day. Just
so
for the 500 race
photos?
Day. Yes, those are just mine. And then others, they might do the same or more. I was told from my photography teacher, young, and I stuck with this, that a photographer only shows their best work. I don't find benefit in turning in a ton of images. A lot of times I just find for clients that gets them confused on what to pick. You're putting creative decisions in their hands. They paid you to make those decisions. You pick the best one. You give them that, and it never fails as a photographer. I've heard this everywhere, and it happens to me daily. The photo you like the least, that's the one they're going to use.
Every time.
Every damn time. So don't give them, you don't want to give them too much. You want to give them what's good. So yeah, that's the way I do it. Probably race day is between 3, I'm guessing it's under 400, probably 300.
Yeah.
But we're not doing an Indy 500, but we're doing events and practice and qualification, time trials, all that kind of stuff. And in a road course race at the beginning of the month, we're doing that every day in May. So, I mean, by the end of the month, like I am in tune with this camera. I'm one with this camera. 2 years ago, I got a little rough, almost patch callus on the tip of my nose.
No way.
From hitting a camera against my face for 1,000 pictures a day or whatever.
That's incredible.
Yeah, but sorry.
That is a badge of honor right there.
Yeah. I ramble. What was your question? I'm sorry.
I mean, really, that was it. I was really trying to figure out how many images get added to the archive at the end of the year. So that makes sense. Really delivering the best work is still part of your job. It's not just taking the photos, but it's delivering the best photos. Now, I would imagine that having to deliver photos quick for the rest of the world to see that there's next to no editing being done to the image itself, right?
Wrong. We're moving quick. I'm moving quick, man. I'm getting them in there, and if it's a slow day, not a race day, I have time where I play with them, and I do a little manipulation. I don't do super heavy manipulation. Part of that is because I'm trying to make editorial images that are used.
Sure.
You're
not changing the winner,
like web stories.
Yeah.
And really, the world has lightened up, believe it or not. I mean, not your big publications, but for standard editorial news, they'll use an image that's doctored a little bit, or as we like to call it, cooked. You cook them. Sometimes you see somebody over edits an image. The colors are messed up. It's a little crispy, too much clarity.
Yeah,
they cooked it.
That's not who won the race.
That guy didn't work in a coal mine. There's charcoal all over this guy.
So having captured all of these images and then, submitting them, since you're not a freelance photographer, are you allowed to use these images for your own personal use?
Yeah, I'll use them on my website portfolio, which makes sense. That's, as a photographer, that's how I would make my living moving forward if I weren't to be with the Speedway. Would be
Sure,
showing
sure.
what I'm capable of. Also, social media, it's today that promotes the brand. That promotes the Speedway, Indianapolis Motor Speedway and IndyCar series and all that. So obviously anything that you see that I post, it's always in a positive light. I don't have anything bad to say about the series or the cars or the drivers. It's all just promotion of
Hmm.
IndyCar and showing the way I see the world in car racing. So I'm able to do that. My images, they're not for sale. I can't sell them, prints of them, because
Gotcha.
technically when you work for a company or a client like this, they own their likeness and that's what they're paying me for. So they're not my
Right.
images to sell, but
I gotcha. I think
they
that's what
are
I was
my
trying to get
images to
at.
share.
I think, now I could be totally wrong here,
Mhm.
but for a while, I was really trying to get Pete Souza on the podcast, who was Barack Obama's
Yeah.
photographer in the White House. It never came to fruition, but I remember reading and doing my research somewhere that he doesn't own those, like he can't use those photos for anything. And the question that I wanted to ask was, because like apparently those photos are government property. And obviously he has a very popular Instagram account where he posts photos that he took. And I guess the way around it, again, I could be totally wrong, is that he has to get those photos off of Flickr and then post them almost like with a link, because again, like he's not allowed to use any of these photos. I could be totally
Interesting.
wrong. This could be totally made up, but I guess I was just trying to get more of an
Hey,
idea
man,
of
I would believe
how
it
this works.
because I had recently had conversations with someone about the current White House photographer and how they had some images of themselves. And just, I guess, it's an interesting thing of how they were going to acquire those images to use them. And it sounded like
A process.
it was maybe it couldn't be done or process. And I've heard this kind of thing about military photography as well. That I don't know that you're really even technically allowed to keep those images you take for the military and government. I don't know how those images exist in the world and how those people get their hands on them, or maybe it's just literally they're stealing them, they're backing them up. That's what I would do. I don't know, you know.
All right. Yeah. Again, I guess I just wanted some sort of insight as to, because I've never had to deal with this as like a
Yeah,
freelance photographer.
it's basically that you own certain companies will do it that way, and it makes sense. They're paying you; it's their property. You're creating the property. You're creating their creative likeness, and
Yeah.
that's what they pay you for. So yeah, I don't own those images. I'd have to look into that. I mean, I'm sure there's a photo lawyer out there somewhere that could tell you how many years those copyrights last.
I think it's 100. Again, I could be wrong, but
Man, I'm not going to live that long. That's disappointing.
yeah, I think that's what it is for music to become royalty free. I think it's 100 years. So in 100
Isn't that
years, we're gonna
something?
have some really interesting YouTube videos for sure. But uh,
Yeah.
we're kind of winding down here. I got a few last questions for you. You've been super gracious with your time. I want to know, what is something that you think most people don't realize about shooting an event like the Indianapolis 500?
It's a great question. I think the thing that I find a lot with photographers is probably this. It's a little generic, but it on the racing side of it, catching the cars. People see these awesome images that my teammates and myself make, and I think a photographer, a good photographer, like a good photographer, thinks I can go out there and do that. Some of it you can, but some of it's like I'm not really great at, and I've been working at it for years.
Do you have
So
an example?
I would say more of the blurry stuff, the creative pans you see. If you see these cool pictures of race cars and there's blur everywhere and these neat colors coming off the side of the wall or because a fence is in the way or whatever, a good photographer can go out and get that stuff and they still would come back with a big blurry messes. It's a very, very thin line between making a blurry photo creative and a blurry photo a blurry bad photo.
Yeah.
So I would say that I find, and I say that because I've known a couple photographers who have literally done that. We've had come out and said, hey, I want to try to help you for the day or whatever. And they kind of come back saying like, hey, that's way harder than I thought it was. Just because, like I said, the fine line between a blurry creative photo and a blurry, bad, crummy photo, it's a fine line. I'm trying to find it. I'm close to it. I don't know right where it is, but I can always tell which side of it I'm on. So I would say that. I think people, like you mentioned earlier, don't realize sometimes the hours put in on and the commitment involved to an event like with Indy 500 or any big event, a horse race or anything like that you have to cover, of being there at 4 or 5 a.m. before all the people flood in and the traffic is too full and you get stuck out on the highway.
That's what happened to me this year.
Standing, like you had mentioned, standing on your feet the entire day, staying alert, not getting bored, not losing focus. And, every time you go to take a shot, just realizing that whatever obstacles or resistance you have inside you that's telling you I'm too tired, I need a break, I'll be fine with what I got already, things like that, that's just resistance, and that's keeping you from having great portfolio images, and it's keeping you from your next paycheck and or even extending your hobby or one day creating your career in photography. Resistance, just that's what people don't realize. There's a lot of resistance in what I do. Get tired, get sore, get hungry, get bored. You gotta. There's a lot. You really got to stay. You got to stay on it, for lack of a better term.
So my last question for you was going to be, if you showed up tomorrow and you had a new assistant, which obviously you would know about because you would be the one in charge of finding them. But so let's say you showed up to work tomorrow and there was a brand new assistant there for you. What is the one piece of advice that you would give them? But would it be that? Would it be persistence?
I would say, yeah, don't not resist whenever something great comes to you or when you get tired or whenever you start losing focus. I would also tell them the greatest way to be at the top of this is to be there, to be present, to volunteer, to raise your hand, to be the one to get up and go do something when it's needed by another photographer. Being helpful. I know that's so generic, but I feel that was the way I got to the point where I'm at. Who can go shoot the sponsor event in the tent? Me. Did I want to? No, I hated it. I didn't want to do it, but I guess I just figured out that if you're helpful, by being helpful is a great reason for people to use you, as generic as that sounds. But you got to pay your dues in photography. You have to, and I know a lot of photographers, you hear them say things like, oh, never work for free, blah, blah, blah. If I wouldn't have worked for free, I would never be doing what I'm doing because I had no portfolio. You're not the greatest when you first start with your brand new digital camera. You have to have a reason to be good. And the best I would tell this person is also to shoot. Because the way I feel that I got to be a good photographer is by always volunteering and doing all this stuff. So I'm always the one shooting while everybody's sitting around. And you figure things out. There's no school. There's nothing that can really, there's small things that can help you, but nothing can teach you to be a better photographer, no thing and no one than yourself by just going out and shooting and figuring it out. So I would say a lot of shooting, find what your interests are, volunteer for, if you're new, if you're an advanced photographer, I get it. But if you're a new photographer, maybe you're not ready to be taking money from clients and people. But if you are working with people who are taking money from clients and are working professionals, you're getting to watch what they do. You're getting to learn from them. And one day you're going to be in their shoes. It's not going to be next month. It's not going to be next year. It's not going to be the following, but you never know. You may, 5 years down the road, you might go, wow, I've been shooting a couple of events or a couple of portrait sessions volunteering for years. I got this now. I know all the trials and tribulations of it. I've seen the problems. I've seen the pros, the cons, and I know how to get through it and get over it. That's kind of what I feel about myself. I've learned a lot in what I've done from others, and I can take that to do whatever I end up doing eventually, whether it's here shooting car racing forever or doing anything else. So I would just say, shoot. You got to shoot a lot, and you got to volunteer to shoot.
It all comes back to persistence. Yeah, That's incredible. That was like a roadmap for, no pun intended, but that was like a roadmap to like getting where you want to get to, like from the beginning. That was wonderful.
Yeah. You just got to pay your dues. Try things out. Get your friend. Go take pictures of your friends. Go do portraits of your friends. Go ask a wedding photographer if you can tag along. Your images are a bonus. You won't get in the way.
Right. Yeah. I've told people the exact same thing. If you're just getting started, why not shoot for free? And I think that gets lost. So I'm glad that you shared that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Chris, oh my gosh, I've kept you for so long and I apologize. Again, you have been so gracious with your time and sharing seemingly everything that there was to ask about shooting the
I had fun.
podcast. Before I let you go, can you let the listeners know where they can find some of your work and follow you online?
Sure, absolutely. My personal webpage is chrisowensphotography.com. It's that easy, chrisowensphotography.com. And on there, you see everything from car racing highlights to street photography, which is kind of my other passion other than shooting car racing, is just street art. There's a lot of that on there. I do stories from music festivals or from concerts or from car races on the blog section on there. So that's something that gets updated pretty often. Always something new rolling on there. Also on Instagram is where I'm most active. And that one is also super simple. It's just my name, @ChrisOwens. So that one, lucky enough to have that handle. That's an easy one. Then from there, obviously, if you're interested in car racing photography, IndyCar.com, which is the sanctioning body that hosts all their cars that race in the Indy 500. So IndyCar.com is a great gallery from me and even more great creative stuff from all of my teammates, all the awesome IndyCar photographers who inspire me and hopefully I inspire them too. So there's great stuff from all of us on there.
Awesome. I know that there's going to be a lot of listeners checking out your work and just interested in something new. You know what I mean? It's all about hearing new, fresh perspectives. And this is something that I have never done on the podcast, is kind of talk about the logistics of a singular event like this. And I learned a ton. So again, from me and from the listener, I thank you so much for coming on, Chris.
Yeah, thanks, Raymond. Thanks for having me.
All right, action item time. If you implement just one thing this week that is going to move the needle forward in your photography, let it be this action item. Learn to use shutter speed to tell a bigger story. Chris's use of shutter speed, honestly, like if you look at his Instagram page, is masterful. When you're photographing a car going 230 miles an hour and you have a shutter speed high enough to freeze the action, it just kind of looks like the car is just parked on the track. Like it's not that exciting, even though that's the norm for this kind of photography. So explore ways that you can use shutter speed in your photography to tell a larger story. And remember, different is better than better. So try something new. That's it today. Until next week, remember, the more that you shoot today, the better of a photographer you will be tomorrow. Talk soon. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of the Beginner Photography Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with a friend. Start a conversation. Grow together. That is it for this week. Remember, the more that you shoot today, the better of a photographer you will be tomorrow. Talk soon.
Thank you for listening to the Beginner Photography Podcast. Keep shooting, and we'll see you next week.